Did you remember to make a vow this morning? 你今朝記唔記得發願啊？冇人答喎 ，Nobody want. Okay, and 譚師傅 said she forgot. 譚師傅話佢唔記得咗，佢話咁聽朝發啦咁啊。Then she said tomorrow morning. I said please don't wait. Tonight better do it tonight. 今晚好發咗先啦嚇，都唔知聽朝起唔起到身啊。Because we don't know that whether we will be able to wake up tomorrow morning. Nobody knows. So better make it tonight, okay? 明日復明日，明日何其多啊嚇。So tomorrow, there is a Chinese saying that there is always a tomorrow. Tomorrow, and then the day after is tomorrow. So there are multiple tomorrows, but 我今復明日啊，歲月咩常蹉跎嚇。So it says today we will say I'll do it tomorrow. That's how we waste our time. That's actually one of Chinese. What do you call them? 諺語啊定詩詞啊？諺語嚟㗎係咪啊？係咪諺語啊定詩詞啊？都唔知係咩嚇詞啊詞啊！It's like it's not a poem, but I don't know how to call that in English. 好，快快出語，今日我哋繼續睇安樂行品嘅第14。Okay, so 我哋琴日喺呢張幻燈片嗰度停咗落嚟嘅，就係誓願安樂行。So we stopped here last night about the vows, a safe and peaceful practice. So here 琴日我哋睇完呢個誓願安樂行，但係咧我哋未講呢個不聞不知不覺，不聞不信不解，實在係6種嘅可以講話6種嘅人嘅情況嗬。咁呢個聞知覺問信解啊，我哋一陣睇，大家記住呢幾個字嚇。So yesterday we looked at this slide already, but we didn't touch on this, the one which are highlighted in red. So they have not heard or known or realized or inquired or believed or understood. So these 6 things actually talk about the correct kind of faith and understanding. 實在呢6樣東西呢，就係講我哋點樣可以有一個正信解，即係正確嘅信同埋正確嘅解，咁就係呢6樣東西嚟嘅。咁我哋睇下啦。第一係聞 ，first one is heard, or listen or hear。咁呢個聞啦嚇。呢個聞呢，就係呢個聽聞覺聞知覺問信解呢六事入邊呢，有2樣事係最難嘅，就係信同解係最難嘅，係最難得嘅。咁我哋睇下啦，第2就係知啦。OK，the second is knowing or known。好 ，after you heard。Then you know what it is talking about 嚇，你聽咗啦，或者你睇咗啦，or you see it with your eyes. Maybe somebody may not be able to hear, but they are able to see, to read. Okay, then they know, they start to know 嚇。咁第3呢？第3就係覺啦。So the third is they start to realize. Or they start to become aware or to become mindful of what is going on. What are these teachings for? 咁第4呢，就係問啦。Then they start to inquire. 佢開始點樣呢？呢個問呢，你可以講係可以講當係思維啊。 係可以講係思維。由覺嗰度實在已經係開始思維。咁問嘅呢，即係話我唔明啦，我去尋求啦。問即係尋求答案咁解。譬如好啦，我要講法華七語，我要問，我點要問呢？我就要去睇經啦。我頭先同譚師傅講，我台面起碼有7部講法華經嘅書，唔好計我電腦上邊有幾多個文件添啦。最少有7部，7部加埋我喺電腦上邊一路儲埋落嚟嘅人哋講法華經嘅文獻，我都全部喺晒個電腦嗰度。咁所以我唔明嘅時候，我就抄啲書嚟睇啦。呢本睇唔明啊，因為講法華經嘅書呢，個經呢好多都係文言文嚟嘅，而佢係唔係我識嘅文言文，係我唔識嘅文言文啊！我已經實在識得唔少文言文嘅，但係佢嘅文言文實在太難，因為太虛大師寫嘅，智海大師寫嘅嗰啲真係好文言嘅文言文。咁所以嗱，我唔識啦，我就要點樣？我要去問啦，問即係話我要去尋求答案。So this inquire that means when we are practicing to a certain point, we don't understand. We realize that we don't understand. We become mindful that we don't understand, or we have maybe doubts, or we want clearer explanations. Then we inquire, right? Inquire. That means you try to find an answer. It's not really to challenge people. It's really try to find an answer for yourself. So like I need to talk about the 7 parables, and on my desk at least I have 7 books of Lotus Sutra, commentary books, let alone all the articles that I have been collecting over the years on Lotus Sutra. But they are some of them I'm very able to read, but some of them I am unable to understand because they are very, very old Shakespeare style of Chinese. And it's very difficult to understand. And some actually goes back to almost like 1,500 years ago, was written 1,500 years ago. So that kind of Chinese is very literate and actually very difficult for me to understand. So I need to digest, I need to really sit there and keep reading and keep reading and keep reading, and then looking at the other book and then keep reading and then come back to it. So it takes a long time to, sometimes I'm stuck in one point and I can spend hours trying to figure out what is going on, what is the real meaning behind that. So you inquire, okay? And then the next one, 咁第5個咧就係信啦。Believed or have faith or have confidence。第5個信咧，即係話，當你尋求呢個答案啦，喺呢個尋求呢個答案中間啦，嗬，你自己會有好多經驗嘅。咁喺個經驗嗰度，同你喺尋求答案中間，你會睇到學到嘅嘢，然後透過你自己嘅經驗。咁你就覺得係喎，係啦，呢個我個經驗同我學到嘅係一致啦，咁我就開始相信啦。我開始相信。OK， 咁譬如好似人哋話俾你聽，你種番茄應該要咁種啊咁。咁你話我唔係好信你話咁種番茄啱嘅喎。我睇下你咁種番茄係咪真係出嚟咁大隻番茄先咁？好啦，你睇到佢種到咁大隻番茄出嚟，好啦，然後你就翻屋企跟照板煮碗咁樣呢，就學佢咁種啦。種真係喎，你種到出嚟喎，咁你就相信啦。佢講呢個方法啱㗎啦，我學到呢樣嘢係啱㗎啦，因為你個經驗話俾你聽。咁你就開始對呢個方法你有信心啦，或者你對你學咗嗰樣嘢你好有信心啦。呢個信呢，一陣我會解釋俾大家聽嗬。唔係盲目嘅信啊，大家一定要明白嚇。 So believe, or have faith or have confidence. So this is really not a blind faith. For example, if somebody tells you, okay, this is the best way to grow a tomato, and then you say, really? I used to tell people how to grow tomatoes. Because you cut the leaves of the tomatoes and then soak it in the water, and after a week, and then you just feed them with that tomato leaves tea. They loved it. They really love it. They give you big tomatoes. But you don't need to believe. Then you look at it. Oh, okay, this is how they grow tomatoes. Okay, I'll try it. I'll try it, and then you experience it. Hey, you got big tomatoes, or you got a lot of small tomatoes, and then that tomato leaves actually didn't kill my tomato. It really feeds the tomato. So because you inquire and then you do it, you experience it, then you start to have that faith and the confidence, and you start to believe in that way. Okay. 好啦，咁啊，然後就係解啦。解咧 you understand or you understood. You understood, yeah, whatever you experienced was right. Was actually what you have learned and what you have experienced, they go hand in hand. Okay? So in here with the safety, with the vows, in safety, in safe place and in peaceful way, you practice to make that vow. But all these 4 teachings, one has to base on a very correct kind of faith and understanding. So if somebody is just understand it but do not believe in it, understand it but do not believe in it, then it's not the correct kind of faith and understanding. So can I give an example about this point? Understanding but not believing? Of course. Scholars. A lot of scholars are very fluent in philosophies. And they write big papers, about Sunnata. They write big papers about dependent origination. They write big papers. But themselves do not practice. Do not practice sila, do not practice samadhi, and of course, their so-called panya is really not panya, it's actually clever, only clever. So that's kind of wisdom on the mundane level. I would use clever to actually instead of wise, instead of wisdom. Okay, so that is understanding but not believing. 咁解而不信，咩叫解而不信咧？即係你讀咗好多書啦，你真係好叻啦，哇出口成河噶嚇，出口成河噶啦。咁咧就點啊？但係咧唔會相信乜嘢？唔會相信你讀到嘅嘢咧係你要需要去行嘅。咁佢話哦。讀嘅佛陀教啦，勤修戒定慧，息滅貪嗔痴啦。咁有冇勤修戒定慧？有冇息滅貪嗔痴啊？冇啊！佢只係點啊？喺理論上邊好叻嚇，但係你唔可以話佢一無所解，佢好叻喎，解好叻喎，但係佢冇行啊嚇。所以信而不解咧，就唔係真正嘅正信解啦。OK， 好啦，咁第二個咧就係咩咧？解而不信，頭先嗰個。而家呢個咧，信而不解咧 ，believing but not understanding。信而不解咧就係實在而家係好多人都係信而不解嘅。當然亦都有好多解而不信。信而不解你可以舉一個例子係好簡單嘅啫。好多人都話自己係三寶弟子，好多人都話自己係佛教徒嘅。但係咧，當你同佢傾開偈嘅時候咧，你就知佢咧，原來佢呢個神又拜，嗰個仙又求，呢個道又去。咁佢究竟係神啦，係仙啦，係道啊，抑或係佛咧？咁係學神啦，學仙啦，學道啊，抑或真係學佛咧？咁 咁你個係咪信而不解啊？佢只係信啫嘛。佢信啊，我拜佛咧就點樣啊？有得救啦！我拜佛咧就可能有智慧啦，我拜佛咧就可能有錢啦，我拜佛咧就求名得名，求利得利啦。咁佢係好恭敬，佢好讚歎，好尊重嘅喎。但係佢唔明白啊，佢唔能夠解啊，佢唔能夠將佢嗰種恭敬心，將佢禮拜嗰種心好好點樣啊？喺個法上邊學到之後，然後先真正恭敬個法，然後去行呢個法啦。所以佢唔係真正了解到佛陀講嘅佛法啊，佢只係信啫。咁實在呢個係好普遍性，我見到嘅好多所謂皈依咗嘅三寶弟子咧，都係咁。So the second one is believing but not understanding. So there is a very simple example is somebody who call themselves the practitioner or the Buddhist student or so-called a Buddhist. I always hesitant to use that word of Buddhist because I never believe, I never agree that actually the Buddhist teachings is just a religion. To me, it's an education. It's a mental cultivation. It's a mental development, physical and mental development. So it's not just a religion, just following a blind set of tenets. So this is my understanding and this is my believing. So 信而不解, so believing but not understanding is something some people believe in okay, I pray to you, I bow to you, I offer to you, then I will be okay, I'll be fine. When I get sick, I won't die, or when I die, I will die very peacefully, or when I want fame, I can get fame, when I want money, I can get money, and they do actually have this kind of respect and have this kind of honesty, but yet they do not understand they need to put these kind of belief into their practice. And I have seen believing but really not understanding also vividly displayed in very senior meditators who claim to be walking on the path of Sila Samadhi and wanting to cultivate Panya. But when they are not inside a meditation retreat, and then they return back to the mundane life, then they will go and have seafood and then pick lobster and drink wine and all that. What is that? What is that? That is believing but not understanding. Because he's really not practicing correctly. If one is practicing correctly, one would know, I'm practicing on the Buddhist path, and what does Buddha teach us? Yes, you can claim that Buddha wasn't a vegetarian. Yes, because he went out for alms. But if you read his teachings, you will see very clearly that he actually ask people not to kill. Actually, one of the 5 precepts is the first one is not to kill, right? And you have to have compassion for all sentient beings. How can you have some compassion for all sentient beings if you're still eating their body? Right? So I look at those people, I think they just believe in meditation, but they really not understanding what it's all about. So this is believing and not understanding. And if we fall into any of these 2 categories, then that is not the correct kind of faith and understanding. And only when you actually practice faith and practice understanding, and they go hand in hand, then that is the correct kind of practice. That is the correct faith and understanding. Otherwise, you're missing one leg all the time. Very wobble. 如果你解而不信或者信而不解呢，就等於好似一張凳咁冇咗一隻腳，冇咗隻腳，得兩隻腳，或者一個單車冇咗個轆，點踩呢？一定踩唔到嘅。Or like a bicycle with one less wheel. How can you ride a bike, right? 所以真真正正要解而信，信而解，先至真真正正叫正解同埋正信。So understand and believe and understand, then you can call that is the correct kind of belief, that is the correct kind of understanding. Okay? So when you vow, make sure you understand what you're vowing for. And you have to believe. That means you need to put that into practice. Okay? 當你發願嘅時候你要有解同埋要有信。你有信而有解，要正確先至得㗎。如果我發錯願㗎 otherwise you will make a wrong vow. Alright? Okay. So, let us continue with the next one. 當你能夠修四安樂行嘅時候，佛就話啦，你就會有果㗎啦。So the fruits of the safe, the Buddha said, when you practice the four teachings, the fruits of the safe and peaceful practice, you will reap those fruits. 咁佢喺呢度就講佢話文殊師利，因為呢個當機眾係文殊師利同埋所有嘅大菩薩摩訶薩。佢話文殊師利是菩薩摩訶薩，於如來滅後有成就此第四法者。無有過失，常為比丘，所有人點樣供養、恭敬、尊重、讚歎。虛空諸天為聽法故，亦常隨時。若在聚落城邑空閒林中，有人來欲難問者，諸天晝夜常為法故而維護之。即係話，當你行四安樂行嘅時候，所有比丘、比丘尼、優婆塞、在家居士男女或者國王或者大臣居士等等，佢都會嚟點樣恭敬供養、尊重同埋讚歎。如果你係行四安樂行嘅話，所有嘅諸天，因為佢哋時常都喺度聽法嘅，佢哋都會喺你個旁邊。點樣如果你去到一啲窮鄉僻壤或者人煙單薄嘅地方，點樣佢哋會嚟點樣諸天晝夜即係日夜都會嚟維護你，為保護你。即係話佢哋成為你嘅護法諸天，成為你嘅護法神。能令聽者皆得歡喜。當你行四安樂行嘅時候，當你能夠可以去說呢個法嘅時候，所有聽到嘅人都會好開心，聽到嘅眾生都好開心。呢個就係受持四安樂行而得嘅安樂行果。Okay, so when one practices the four teachings, and one will naturally reap the wonderful fruits of these four teachings, and it is actually there are actually many fruits here. So after the extinction of the Tathagata, Bodhisattva Great ones who have fulfilled this four teaching will be free from errors when they teach this Dhamma. English, 271. It says, okay, Bodhisattva Great ones who have fulfilled this four teaching will be free from error when they teach this Dhamma. Okay, and they will always be given offerings and be revered, honored, and praised by monks and nuns, laymen and laywomen, and so on and so forth. Heavenly beings in the sky also, in order to hear the Dhamma, will always follow them. Whether they are in a village or town, in a secluded forest, when someone comes wanting to put difficult question to them day or night for the sake of the Dhamma, heavenly beings will always guard and protect them, making all the hearers rejoice. Why? Because this sutra, why? Because this sutra is protected by the divine powers of all the past, future, and present Buddhas. So when somebody actually have such a vow, of vowing to practice these teachings, they will always get offerings, they will always be revered, honored, and they will always be protected. Even though when people come to have difficult questions put forefront to them, all the devas will help them to answer and make those people who come forward with such questions will rejoice in their answers. Why? Because of this. Because this sutra is protected. 點解啊？係因為呢一部經係受保護嘅，係呢部經係點啊？係一切過去佛啊維護嘅。此經是一切過去、未來、現在諸佛神力所護故。Because this sutra is protected by the divine powers of the past, future, and the present Buddhas. 你睇下雖然我哋而家以為佛陀入滅咗，以為佛陀已經唔在世啦，但係如果你睇《金剛經》又好，你睇個大乘經又好，或者你睇南傳嘅經都好，佢哋成日都會講過去、未來、現在諸佛。佢唔會講過去佛，唔會淨係講過去佛，一定會講過去、未來、現在諸佛。你話現在哪裏有佛？你睇唔到咋？佛係不生不滅噶嘛，所以我哋成日以為佛係滅咗就冇咗啊！呢個係錯誤嘅觀點嚟嘅。所以記住啦，所以呢部經啊，我哋能夠讀呢部經啊，我哋會得到咁大利益咧其中一個利益當然啦，就諸神守護諸天守護。最緊要就係你自己守護緊你自己先。當你讀呢部經嘅時候，實在你自己守護緊你自己，你自己就已經係你自己嘅天神。我哋唔好求過去、現在、未來佛守護我先，至少我自己守護自己先啦。因為點解啊？我哋喺個正法度睇緊個正法嘅經，我哋發展緊自己嘅正信，發展緊自己嘅正解嘛。咁你話係咪幾大嘅保護力呢？So this sutra is being protected by the divine powers of all the past, future, and present Buddhas. If you look at the Mahayana teachings or you look at the Theravadan teachings, they always talk about Buddhas of the past, Buddhas of the future, and the present Buddha. And we always think that the Buddha is already gone, 2,600 years ago. He's gone, then how can he protect us? The Buddha is neither gone nor present. Okay, so we as human beings, we have not reached that state of sunyata, of emptiness. That's why we will always think that the Buddha really has gone. Okay, so, and how could they protect us? At least I think if we don't need to rely on others to protect us. When we actually read this sutra, we are actually protecting ourselves. We are our own devas. We are our own protectors. Because why? When we are studying this sutra, when we are understanding this sutra, when we start to have faith in this sutra, and when we start to practice what the sutra is teaching us, are we protecting ourselves? We are the strongest protector for ourselves, right? You protect, you stop yourself from misbehaving. Then aren't you the protector? That part of the mind which can stop misbehaving, that is the greatest protector, right? When you are when you actually have that kind of understanding and faith, you connect with all these past, future, and present Buddha. You connect with them because we are with the same frequency. Otherwise, we won't tune into them. Okay? So this sutra is being protected, just like us being protected if we are reading this sutra. 佢話文殊師利是化華經於無量國中乃至名字不可得聞，何況得見受持讀誦呢？咁佢話文殊師利啊，呢、個法華經啊喺無量無邊嘅國入邊啊，佢哋都冇機會聽到啊！好多人都冇機會聽到啊！咁何況要點啊？要見到，要受持，要讀誦，要書寫呢？冇機會啊！咁我哋咪真係好有福，能夠聽到法華經。我哋真係好有福㗎，能夠聽到法華經。點解啊？因為佛陀喺入滅之前啊，之前嗰幾年啊就講法華經嘅，然後最尾佢就先講涅槃經啊。所以嗱，如果有啲人係喺佛陀入滅前嗰幾年已經唔喺度㗎，咁佢冇乜機會聽到法華經。要點樣啊？再投生喺有機會聽到法華經嘅地方，睇有冇機會聽到法華經。咁聽都未必聽得到啦，咁何況要點啊？得見受持同讀誦或者書寫呢？所以法華經點解咁寶貴就係咁解啦。So the Buddha said to Manjusri, he said, in countless lands, not even the name of the Dharma or the Lotus Sutra can be heard. A lot of past beings were not able to hear the teachings of the Lotus Sutra. And how can they see the Lotus Sutra? How can they abide by it? How can they embrace it? How can they read and how can they recite and how can they copy? There's no way. Before the Buddha went into Nibbana, the last sutra that he actually talked about was the Mahaparinibbana Sutra. And then before that, he was teaching the Lotus Sutra for, can't remember, 8 years or 10 years. So if those people who are not alive in those 8 or 10 years, that when the Buddha was teaching the Lotus Sutra, how can they hear? How can they have the opportunity to read? And how can they embrace? How can they abide? How can they practice? How can they copy? There's no way. Unless when they reborn, when they reincarnate, then they reincarnate in such a space, such a time, such a place where Lotus Sutra is there. So when now it's actually for us, we have such a wonderful opportunity to be to hear this sutra, and to see this sutra, and to embrace this sutra. If some of you could copy it, that's even more auspicious. Huh? I know it's not easy. 我一指一拜法華經，我拜咗2年啦，先啱啱拜完第7品。因為我前幾年成日都冇時間拜，我係今年先可以日日咁拜，先至拜咗幾多萬字啊，2萬幾3萬字嚇。你諗下，要拜完一本嘅法華經要幾長啊？我成日都勸自己啊，你唔緊要，有命就繼續拜，有命就繼續拜。所以你諗下幾難得㗎啦，嗬。I have started doing one word, one vowel of Lotus Sutra. When I actually started teaching Lotus Sutra, and it's 2 years now. I've only just almost finished chapter 7. So how many words? I think it's about 20,000. And I look at it and say, wow, I still have 21 chapters to go. And I said, never mind, I still have this life. No matter how long it will take, I'll just keep going. It's not easy, really, it's not easy. But keep going. Okay? So, then, 就係因為咁樣嚇，呢部《法華經》原來咁難聽，即係咁難有機會聽得到，咁難有機會聽得到，咁咧就開始講呢個譬喻啦，就講呢個頭頂魚啦，頂珠魚啊，就講呢個譬喻啦嚇。So after you can see how rare, how auspicious that we actually encounter this sutra. Then because of such an auspicious, so they talk about this metaphor. Okay? 隨功賞賜，田宅聚落，即係等於我大家都睇過啦嚇，睇咗呢個故事，就係喺一個4分5裂嘅國家入邊啊，大大小小嘅戰爭不斷發生。咁啊，其中有一個君主啊，叫轉輪聖王啦嚇。轉輪聖王咧，實在咧就係譬如咧就係佛陀啦。咁咧，佢就希望咧用一個和平嘅方法咧，佢統治各國啊嚇。咁啊，消除即係等於即係點樣？呢個統治即係話消除世間嘅痛苦。咁咧，勸喻咧各個君主咧都唔好大家咧以干戈嚟相對啊。咁但係咧，佢哋咧就唔聽咧就點啊？冇辦法啦。係咪啊？冇辦法啦，咁佢就唯有點樣啦？唯有咧就大家要打仗啦。咁佢終於咧就戰勝咗。咁咧降服咗所有呢啲細國。咁喺戰場上邊咧有好多士兵啊，同打呢場仗啦。咁咧翻嚟咧就會點啊？隨功賞賜啦，俾佢哋有幾多功勞咧就獎賞佢哋乜嘢。其中有包括田宅啦，即係有田啦、有地、有屋啦；聚落啦，或者就俾一條村去，或者城邑，或者俾個城市去，或者俾衣服啊、嚴身之具，即係莊嚴，即係譬如金銀珠寶啊等等嘅，或者耳環啊，或者頸鏈啊等，呢叫嚴身之具啊，即係將個身體扮靚嘅。話種種珍寶啦，金銀琉璃啊、車渠馬路啊、琥珀啊，呢啲叫珍寶，或者俾大笨象去啦，馬啦、車啦，或者奴婢啊，或者人民等，咁就賞賜呢啲幫佢打勝仗嘅人。OK， 咁呢個就係轉輪聖王啊，好似強力一個轉輪聖王去賞賜呢啲同佢打勝仗嘅人。So it's just like this turning king. In the metaphor is there was this world which is really all dispersed, and the wheel turning king thought, well, it's nice to unite all these little kingdoms and become a big harmonious kingdom. And this wheel turning king is actually analogous to the Buddha. Okay, so. This powerful wheel-turning king try to convince all these little kingdoms to amalgamate together, but they refused. So he needed to send off troops to try to conquer all these little kingdoms, and eventually he succeeded. And he succeeded because of all these wonderful soldiers and all his generals and all these people. So when they return, when they return with this 打勝仗點講啊？ They conquer and they won this battle, right? So when they return, then he rewarded them. he awarded them with all these according to their merits, how much merits they have done. So whether he give them houses or land or gold or earrings or whatever, or pendulums or garlands and whatever. The king rewarded them according to their merits. So the Buddha said, Manjari, this is what the wheel-turning king would do, would give the reward to his troops and everybody. The wheel-turning king is just like this Buddha, but there is this jewel that the wheel-turning king hold up on the top knot, on this, you call it a bun, right? And he will never reward that one, because only a wheel-turning king will be able to hold this and to keep this, and it only stays in the head of the wheel-turning king. So he will never reward this. So what does this metaphor say? 好啦，咁佢話呢個轉輪聖王，佢乜都想賜嘅，淨係點啊？佢個頭髻上邊嗰粒明珠，無價嘅明珠，佢唔會想賜出去，點都唔會想賜出去。咁啊好記，咁係咩意思咧？就係等於呢樣嘢啦。So what does it mean? So you can see the top knot of this Buddha statue. This is the famous Buddha statue in Hong Kong. It's called 天壇大佛，大家都知道啦，呢個係香港寶蓮寺嘅天壇大佛。咁我係我朋友個仔咧，去用嗰啲 drone 影嘅，用嗰啲無人駕駛飛機影。咁啊，this was taken by my friend's sons using a drone. So I borrowed those pictures from him. 嗰個轉輪聖王嗰個髮髻上邊嗰粒明珠，嗰粒無價嘅寶咧，就係髻中明珠啦。咁呢個轉輪聖王就係代表如來啦，個髻中明珠就代表《法華經》。髻中明珠就代表呢個《法華經》。So the wheel-turning king is the Buddha. And the priceless jewel on the top knot, what does it represent? The Lotus Sutra. Okay? So you can see how rare and how precious that we are able to actually hear and read the Lotus Sutra. 我哋睇到啦，我哋幾有福啦，能夠聽到，能夠接觸到呢個《法華經》。你睇下，淨係要爬上個佛頭個頂啊，都唔容易啊。If you want to reach to the top of the head of the Buddha, it's really not an easy job. I was up there. 我曾經喺個上邊啊。When they were installing, I was up there. 係安呢個佛嗰陣時，我喺個最頂嗰度影個相。幫手影個相 I was up there helping to take photographs. 所以你睇到啦，佢話為髻中明珠不以與之，所以者何啊？佢獨王頂上有此一珠，若以與之，王珠眷屬，必大驚怪。佢話只有髻中呢個明珠啊！獨王頂上有此一珠，若以與之，王珠眷屬，必大驚怪。佢話只有皇上邊嗰個屋嗰個髻頂嘅先有呢粒珠啊，只有皇帝先至配有呢粒珠喺個頂嗰度。如果佢將呢啲珠咧，將佢賞賜咗出去咧，所有嘅大臣咧就會懷疑。就會驚恐噶啦，所以佢一定係唔會將呢粒珠賞賜出去。 So this jewel can only be on the head of a king. If he gave it away, all the king's followers would be very astonished and also suspicious. Why? Why would he give out this jewel? Then they won't like it, right? They won't like it. So 佢話實在如來亦復如是啊。The Tathagata is also like this. 佢話佛陀啊，以禪定智慧力得法國土，王於三界，而諸魔王不肯信服啊。如來賢聖諸將與之共戰啊。其有功者心亦歡喜，於四眾中為說諸經，令其心悅。賜以禪定解脫無漏根力，諸法之財，又復賜予涅槃之城，賢得滅道。引導其心，令其歡喜，而不為說是法華經。係啊，你睇下，如來都係，佛陀都係咁。佛陀點解啊？佛陀只係俾呢啲人乜嘢啊？禪定，俾呢啲人喺呢個四眾，即係出家男眾女眾，在家男眾女眾叫做四眾，即係比丘、比丘尼、優婆塞、優婆夷。為說諸經，講其餘所有嘅經，等佢哋開開心心，俾佢哋有禪定、有解脫，可以得到點啊？二乘嘅涅槃得到二乘嘅涅槃，等佢哋以為滅道啦，希望引到佢哋開開心心啦，但係未同佢哋講法華經。點解會咁呢？點解會咁呢？因為時機唔成熟啊！時機唔成熟，未成熟嘅時候就講唔到法華經。咁而佛陀係用呢啲種種嘅咩嘢，俾禪定啦、解脫啦、無漏根力啦，即係眼耳鼻舌身意咧冇漏嘅，即係唔會引你起煩惱啦，唔會讓你作業噶啦。所有其餘所有嘅經都俾啦，但係就唔俾法華經。呢啲就係叫做乜嘢呢？呢啲就叫做方便嘅法門啊！呢個就叫做權法啦。即係等於點啊？等於化成喻品嗰度一樣現一個化成俾佢哋，等佢哋休息，等佢哋休息之後點啊？先至再鼓勵佢哋再往前進。Okay，so the Buddha, the Tathagata is also the same like this. He uses powers of meditation and wisdom to win lands for the Dharma, and is the king of the threefold world. This is on page 272 and the first paragraph. And it says here, he uses powers of meditation and wisdom to win lands for the Dharma, and is the king of the threefold world. But the devil kings are unwilling to submit. The Tathagata's wise and holy generals fight against them. With those who distinguish themselves, he is pleased, and in the midst of the four groups, he teaches sutras, all other sutras, but not the Lotus Sutra, causing them to rejoice. He gives them the meditations, the liberations, the lesser vehicles, the nirvana of the lesser vehicles, the Svaraka and the Pratyeka Buddha. And in addition, he gives them the city of Nirvana, the lesser vehicles Nirvana, and telling them they have attained extinction. You have attained extinction. Don't worry. And guiding them so that they all rejoice. So they are very happy. Yet for them, he does not teach this Dharma Flower Sutra. He does not teach them the Lotus Sutra. Why is that? Why? It means the wheel turning king did not give out the jewel in the top knot. Why? Because they are not ripened enough. So not meritorious enough. That's why. And that's why the Buddha uses all these skillful means to let all these beings rejoice. Rejoice in thinking and believing that they have attained, but yet they haven't. Then he started doing this. Then, like the wheel turning king, he started rewarding the jewel. So 咁啊，好似呢個轉輪聖王咁啦，知道呢啲兵眾啦有大功者啦，心甚歡喜，以難信之諸，久在計中，不忘與人，而今與之。到終於咧，呢個轉輪聖王見到呢啲兵將，佢哋嘅功勞真係好大好大，個功勞真係好大好大啦，開心到不得了啦。咁佢就話：好啦。呢個明珠喺我計入邊已經好長時間啦，我唔隨便俾人，但係我今次可以俾啦，因為佢哋立咗好大嘅功績。So when the wheel-turning king sees that some of the soldiers have actually has distinguished himself, he's so extremely pleased with him that now at last he thinks he is worthwhile of this priceless jewel on my top knot, which has been sitting there for a long, long time. And now he is very willing to reward him with this jewel, priceless jewel. So he actually took it down and gave it. So the Buddha, this is the analogy that the Buddha finally starting to teach the Lotus Sutra. 呢個就係一個譬喻，佛陀終於開始講法華經。佢話：以法教化一切眾生，見賢成君，與五陰魔、煩惱魔、死魔共戰，有大功分滅三毒。嗱，呢啲就係打勝仗啊！打勝咩仗啊？五陰即係五蘊啦，係咪啊？煩惱魔啦死啦，死魔共戰全部打勝仗啦，能夠出到嚟咗呢個三界。你諗下幾高嘅境界呢？冇晒貪嗔痴，嚟咗呢個三界，降服晒所有嘅魔羅，所以佛陀咁開心，因為佢見到眾生咁好，見到眾生能夠做到咁樣，所以點樣啊？先所未說，而今說之啦。以前未講嘅法華經，佢而家講啦，就係因為嗰陣時。喺嗰段時候，佢見到有一啲修行人能夠可以立到咁大嘅功分，所以佢開始講個法華經。So the great Dharma King, that means the Buddha. This is on page 272 if you want to read it later on. He is teaching and transforming all the living with the Dharma, who actually were successful to fight all the 5 aggregates, all the maras, and the merits that they are the devils of affliction, the devils of death, and then win great distinction and merit. They are able to eliminate all the poisons, to subdue all the maras, and they emerge from the threefold world. And then he started to teach this Lotus Sutra, because before that he didn't see any practitioner to be able to do this. And then when he saw these practitioners are able to do this, and he started to teach the Lotus Sutra. And why would he not teach that before? Because he said, because that is a secret treasure. 點解佢之前唔講啊？佢話因為點解啊？呢個法華經係一個秘密之藏。佢話文殊師利啊，此法華經是諸如來第一之說啊，於諸說中最為甚深，末後賜予如彼強力之王，久護明珠，今乃與之啊。佢話呢個法華經啊係點啊？係佛陀最 最無上，佛陀所有嘅法入邊最無上嘅一個法，冇嘢可以叻得過呢個法華經，而佢係所有法入邊係最深奧嘅，甚深微妙啊！就等於好似呢個轉輪聖王，佢一路保護呢個點啊？保護呢個明珠，直到真係有一個兵將可以立咁大功，佢先至將呢個明珠俾佢。So the Buddha said, Manjuri, this sutra is the greatest, is the highest teaching of all the teachings that I have taught. And this is the most profound. That's why he saved it last. Because then, remember when the Buddha attained enlightenment, when the devas first invited the Buddha to come to go out to teach, he said, my teachings is too profound for beings to understand. He refused. Remember that? That was meant by the Lotus Sutra. Too profound. It's too difficult to understand. He said, I can't, I won't. But now, he said, I give it to you. At last, I give it to you. Just like this powerful king, in the end, gave this wonderful jewel that he had guarded for so long. 佛陀喺證悟咗嘅時候，證悟咗之後啊，天人嚟求佛出去弘法，佛話唔得啊，我個法太深啊，冇人能夠明白，我唔會講嘅，我唔會講嘅。所以你諗下，佢一路出嚟講，佢都冇講法華經啊，係最尾嗰8年10年佢先至講法華經。So only in the last 10 or 8 years that he actually started to teach Lotus Sutra. Because why? This is such a secret treasure and the time is not ripened yet. 佢話此法華經啊，諸佛如來秘密之藏，於諸經中最為其上，長夜守護不妄宣說啊！此於今日乃與汝等而敷衍之，即係同頭先嗰個係差唔多。但係佢即係話，我係唔能夠隨便講嘅，不妄宣說，即係唔能夠隨便講嘅。長夜守護，即係日夜都要保護住佢。今日先至係時間講俾大家聽。So he says here is similar to that, but there is one very important point is this is well guarded and protected for a long time, and it has not been recklessly taught. He won't just like taught this. He won't just like teach this Lotus Sutra very casually. No. But today it is the time to teach this. Now I lay it out all for you now. Okay? So this is the story of this top knot, the jewel on the top knot. This is the story. Then, so the Buddha actually was so compassionate to teach us this wonderful sutra. But when we actually read this sutra, when I read this when this particular chapter, it really dawned on me on the teachings of this sutra is, of course, the Lotus Sutra is very powerful, it's very precious. But yet, how we actually apply what we learn in the Lotus Sutra is actually even more powerful and even more important, isn't it? It's not just that reading it, it's not just able to see it. No, it's how are we going to apply that to our daily lives is really very, very crucial. 好啦，係《法華經》係好殊勝，《法華經》呢個係一個大嘅寶藏。我哋而家有機會聽啦，聽到咁我哋究竟係點呢？咁我讀呢一安樂行品嗰陣時咧，我覺得入邊有一段文咧，係實在係 係教我哋如何利用呢個佛法咧，去對待自己同埋對待別人。So when I read this, when I was really studying this, the four teachings, I was very inspired by one part of this sutra. It actually teaches us how we should actually apply the teachings of the Lotus Sutra to treat ourselves and treat others. That's why I said, how should we treat others? 如何對待別人？實在你可以講，亦都可以講如何對待自己。You can also say, how should we treat ourselves also? So, actually, it goes way back in the first 安樂行品啊，新安樂行品嗰度㗎。So 喺第一個安樂行品 ，this is in the first teaching。我今晚上再重複俾同大家去探討一下呢個。佢話當於一切眾生起大悲想 ，we should among all living beings, we should treat them with great compassion. All living beings, whether it's an ant, whether it's a human being. 我哋當於一切眾生，無論佢係一隻蟻或者佢一個人，我哋都要點樣啊？係一個大悲心 ，compassion. That means alleviate their sufferings. 希望點樣幫佢哋能夠離苦如果我哋能夠一企喺呢個咁嘅大悲心嘅時候，我哋就係用緊《法華經》喺日常生活中。If we can actually use compassion to deal with all living beings, we are actually applying the Lotus Sutra in our daily life. Isn't it? Especially in this chapter, right? The safety and peaceful practice, right? 好啦，於諸如來起慈父想。So it says, the Tathagatas or all the Buddhas as loving fathers. 所有嘅佛，我哋要視佢哋如我哋嘅父親，好慈悲嘅父親。父親養我哋，育我哋。佢養我哋，育我哋，佢無條件咁照顧我哋，保護我哋，就等於佛陀。佛陀點啊？佛陀無條件咁愛護我哋，照顧我哋，照顧我哋咩嘢？照顧我哋呢個慧命。我哋個父親就照顧我哋呢個身嘅命，但係佛陀照顧我哋呢個慧命，所以呢，我哋點樣啊？我哋視諸如來而慈父想所以我哋見我哋嘅師父呢，就係、我成日都話啦，我出咗家之後呢，我成日都話我有兩個父親，一個就係養我育我嘅父親。另外一個就係我師父我對我個父親，我自己覺得就係無憾㗎啦，已經可以所做嘅已經做啦。但係對我師父咧，我自己覺得我仲未能夠真係盡其孝道所以係唯有點樣啊？唯有呢一生咧，繼續好努力咁啊護法。好似佢老人家咁就係多盡多少少嘅孝道。So we have to regard all the Tathagatas, all the Buddhas as our loving fathers. Our physical life, our father or blood father actually has given or have raised us, has given us this life, has raised us, has educated us. We need to remember that. We need to be grateful. But for the Buddha who has actually given us this Dharma, which will allow us to become totally liberated one day from all sufferings, and that is even a greater father than a blood-related father. So after I actually renounced, in my mind, I always remember that I have two fathers. One father is my blood-related father, and I always felt that I have already tried my best for my physical blood-related father. But for my Sifu, I actually always felt that I still have not tried my best. So one thing I could only do is to actually look up to what he has done in his life and try to walk on his path and keep doing what he has done and to preserve the Dhamma. That's the only thing that I can do. That's the only way that I can repay the piety. So 於諸如來起慈父想啊，於諸菩薩起大師想。So see, regard all the Bodhisattvas as great teachers. 於諸菩薩起大師想呢個係咩意思呢？即係好似嗱，你見到觀音菩薩，觀音菩薩教你乜嘢？大師即係老師咁解。觀音菩薩教我哋慈悲。你見到地藏菩薩教我哋乜嘢？教我哋大願。見到文殊師利菩薩教我哋咩啊？大智慧。佢哋見到佢哋，我哋就知道我哋要點樣啊？跟佢哋學習發展呢啲種種咁好嘅品德啦。So when we see the Bodhisattvas as great teachers, like if you look at Guan Yin菩薩, the compassionate Bodhisattva, what does he or she teach you? Teach us how to develop this compassion. Equal compassion, unbiased, non-judgmental compassion. And we look at Ksitigarbha, a Bodhisattva, we look at him, we know it's great vows. And we look at Manjari Bodhisattva, we know it's great wisdom. So when we look at these Bodhisattvas, we look at them as our teachers. We look up to them, and we treat them, we follow them, and we want to develop those qualities. And we follow them the way they treat human sentient beings. We follow them the way they treat human sentient beings. 觀音菩薩會唔會打人？會唔會鬧人呢？唔會㗎嘛。So 觀音菩薩 will觀音菩薩 be scolding people, killing people? No, she won't. He won't. Right? So would Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva give a helping hand when he saw somebody is in deep water? He would. 地藏菩薩見到人哋水深火熱，會唔會伸一隻手啊？抑或踩佢一腳啊？佢會伸一手嘛？我哋會唔會啊？ Are we able to do that? So that we have to look up to the Bodhisattva, okay? To follow their path. 於十方諸大菩薩常應深深恭敬禮拜。Revere and worship the Maha Bodhisattvas in all 10 directions with deepest sincerity. 我諗我哋好容易去頂禮諸佛菩薩，用深深恭敬禮拜諸佛菩薩，因為我哋覺得佢至高無上。但係我哋可唔可以面對我哋對方，面對我喺我哋面前一個人，我哋視他為菩薩，好似今晚讀嘅常不輕菩薩品一樣。我哋能唔能夠視佢為未來佛而去禮拜恭敬？如果我哋能夠咁樣做呢， 實在我哋就係時刻都係點啊？頂禮緊十方諸大菩薩。So revere and worship the Mahabodhisattvas in all 10 directions with deepest sincerity. I don't think this is a problem for us to do. But can we see the person right in front of us? They are the future Buddha, like what we have read from one of the sutra tonight, right? He won't look down. He won't belittle anybody because he sees that he or she is the future Buddha. Can we do that? Can we see that? It's no problem that we actually can prostrate to the Bodhisattva statues or anybody or your sifu with deepest sincerity and respect. I don't think there is any problem to do that. But can we respect others like we are respecting the future Buddha? Not easy, eh? 於一切眾生平等說法 and teach the Dharma equally to all living beings and no inequality. 呢個好簡單啊嚇，好容易明白啊。咁實在讀呢本《法華經》嗬，讀呢本《法華經》咧喺呢一卷第14地品呢個度啦，係講咗讀呢本《法華經》咧係好多利益嘅。咁當然啦，嗰個計諸品呢個讀經嘅利益唔係一個譬喻，不過我都想即係鼓勵下大家，支持下大家嚇，鼓勵下自己，支持下自己啊！原來讀到嘅《法華經》咧係讀到咁多經係咁大利益嘅。So the next slide is about the benefits of reading of this sutra. Even though this is, I could say this is not really related to the metaphor, but I want to encourage you. I want to support you, and I want to encourage myself and support myself that reading this sutra brings so much benefits. So give yourself a pat.on the shoulder 喺膊頭拍下自己，真係好啦，我真係有機會讀呢部經真係有福啦，原來咁多利益㗎咁。So it's actually a lot and 我唔全部列晒出嚟，係嘛？讀是經者，常無憂惱，又無病痛，顏色鮮白，不生貧窮，卑賤醜陋幾好？你話係咩？佢哋記住啊！呢個卑賤醜陋咧，真係唔係講肉身嘅，唔係講肉身嘅。好啦，刀杖不加，毒不能害，若人惡罵，口則閉塞啊嚇！咁當然啦，睇你讀得有幾勤力啦，係咪？遊行無畏如獅子王，智慧光明如日之照啊！所以咧，去到都唔使驚。若於夢中但見妙事，見諸如來坐獅子座，諸比丘眾圍繞說法等等等啊。若後惡世中說是第一法，是人得大利，如上諸功德。咁你睇到咧，呢個讀經真係好多功德。亦都如果你哋有機會睇《法華經》啊，佢我唔知你哋網上嗰啲《法華經》有冇講嘅咧？就係《法華經靈驗記》啊，即係每一品咧後邊每一卷咧後邊都有講讀《法華經》嘅靈驗記嘅，即係有啲咩靈驗諸如此類嗰啲。咁當然啦，我哋讀經唔係要求有咩靈驗，但係當我哋真係至誠恭敬務求而去讀經咧，好多時都會有一啲好特別嘅事情發生嘅，無論係你有求抑係無求應該多數係無求先會有，有求你就唔會求得到噶啦，因為你一出有求嘅心就係背道而馳啦。咁所以咧無論我哋讀咩經都好大利益。當然讀呢個《法華經》會更大利益，因為呢本係秘密之藏。OK。So the benefits of reading this sutra is actually very long, from page 275 to 277. So I'm not going to list them all out, but I'm just list out a few so that you are aware. Everyone who reads this sutra will always be free from anxiety and stress. Of course, when you are able to read sutra, you will be free from anxiety and stress, and from illness and pain, and from their faces will be fresh and bright. You look beautiful. You don't need cosmetics. If anyone in an evil age to come, and they will be protected, and if anyone to come and this teaches this preeminent Dharma, they will gain great benefits, and such as all the blessings above. So read this from page 275 to 277. They will dream they are kings who forsake palaces and servants and the exquisite wonders of the 5 desires to go to the place of the way. Even in dreams, you get all these benefits. And they will sit on lion seats under the Bodhi trees, and after seeking the way for 7 days, attain the wisdom of the Buddhas. That's how auspicious this sutra, reading this sutra is. Why? Because this sutra is the secret of all the treasure. So, this is chapter 14. Hey! 呢個就係第14品計諸品或者頂諸品嚇。This is chapter 14, the parable of the priceless jewel. So, did you understand? 你哋明唔明啊？明啊 ？Understand? Good? OK. 好啦，真係講唔完啦，係咪？好啦，如我所願啦，講唔完啦。So like I wish, I couldn't finish. Okay. But anyway, let us talk about tomorrow first. Tomorrow is the last day of the ABCC. 聽日就係最後一日啦。7日嘅大吉祥法會最後一天。咁因為聽日咧就朝頭早我哋會讀埋嗰2品啦，然後我哋有分享啦，然後會上供。咁咧下晝咧就係有三時繫念。咁如果你自己冇三時繫念呢個本子咧，你就可以上呢個呢個網頁咧，就可以 download 呢個 PDF file 啊。去有一個咧就係三語嘅，下邊呢個英文呢個咧就係有越南話、有中文同埋有英文嘅。咁就聽日下晝2點鐘開始嘅。咁因為我講過咧，我今年一定要將嗰個法華7語咧要講埋嘅啦。So this is the Amitabha chanting tomorrow afternoon. These are the links for the Amitabha chanting, the book, the Sutra book of the Amitabha chanting. So in the morning, we will read, finish reading the last 2 chapters, and then we will have a sharing about how you feel about these 6 parables. And then we'll have a grand offerings, and after that we will have to change the setting here. Then we'll start at 2 o'clock for these 3 sessions of Amitabha chanting. 你記得咧，三時繫念唔係一定要為往生嘅人做嘅，記住要為自己做嘅，要為自己做亦都可以回向俾在生嘅人所以唔係一定要為往生嘅人做嘅。So remember, this is a very wrong concept about these 3 sessions of Amitabha chanting is only dedicated to the dead. No, it's more important to dedicate to the live ones, including yourself. So that is don't have that kind of wrong concept. Okay. 好啦。Because I have said that I'm going to finish these 7 parables, so I have find a date So on Friday, coming Friday, 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock Pacific time, we will finish the 7th parable. Friday, the 21st. 咁我哋咧就會喺，因為我講過，我今年要將個7個比喻講晒，但係喺大吉祥法會講唔完呢，所以咧我就喺下個星期五嚟緊嘅星期五，即係8月21號，我哋西岸嘅時間6點至8點，6點至8點夜晚黑，我講埋呢個第7個比喻。OK，so 希望你哋有參加呢個過往嗰6天嘅，有聽到其餘嗰4個比喻嘅，希望你可以圓滿嚟聽埋呢個第5個比喻，第7個比喻。咁啦，呢個記住咯喎，星期五嚇。So remember Friday，all right？OK。So 有冇咩問題啊？你哋？聽朝係10點鐘開始嚇。Tomorrow is we start at 10 o'clock. In the afternoon we start at 2 o'clock. 下晝就2點鐘開始。亦都係可以上 Zoom， 可以上 Facebook。You can log on to Zoom or log on to Facebook。OK， 好啦。OK， 好啦，咁我哋回向咯喎，好嘛？So we will dedicate. 願以此功德普及於一切我等與眾生，皆共成佛道。May these blessings extend to all, that we with all the living beings together will attain the Buddha way. Isn't that beautiful picture? Building A， 呢個係寶林嘅 A 座個頂啊，好靚啊！嗬，好，聽朝見啊 ！See you all tomorrow. See you all tomorrow. Okay. Good night.
Good night.